It's your boy Sean P, the Blunt guy. Hey, and we are back again, and we are about to do another reaction to the boy Parvision, and today is about Vander Decken, right? Vander Decken. Make sure you hit that like button, also subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. And the link that the link of the video we are doing will be in the description box. So make sure y'all go show Parvision some love, right? But without any further ado, let's get it started.
I think Roger may not have been the first person since the Void Century to make it to Laugh-Tale. What? Yeah, I said what I said.
The first Roger not being the first person to make it to Laugh-Tale. I think I would agree with that. I don't think he was. I think he was like in the modern day. If we're talking modern day, he probably was. But I don't know if he was like, like. Well, I think people probably occupied Laugh-Tale before, most likely. Like maybe people in Ancient Kingdom occupied it, and then maybe something happened to it because there has to be a reason why it's so hard to get to. It has to be a reason, because if it was just like a normal island, like people would just stumble upon it a lot easier. But why aren't people like stumbling upon Laugh-Tale? I think there has to be a extreme barrier of entry to get to Laugh-Tale. One of them I think could be maybe it's that waterfall in this lobby. That theory I talked about it with like when I did a reaction to O'Hara, like his theory was that it is under in this lobby. That would explain why it's so hard to get to, because who would be willing to travel down a waterfall that they don't know for a fact has Laugh-Tale or the One Piece down there, right? Or maybe it's not, maybe it's in the sky, or I've heard people talk about possibly in space before. I don't know. But I think it has to be some extreme barrier of entry to why it is hard to get the Laugh-Tale, you know. But yeah. Anyway, let's get into the video.
I'm sorry to interrupt your normally scheduled programming, but this discovery is quite literally hot off the presses. I think there was a legend that we literally have to deep dive to even see that might give us more clues to this mysterious final treasure, the One Piece. See, the one thing I was kind of thinking about was that it doesn't really make sense that in the 800 years between the Void Century and the current timeline, there was only one or two people close to the One Piece, those two people being Roger and possibly Rox. It would make sense to me that there were others that studied the poneglyphs also. And guess what? I think there's actually proof that they weren't the first. And I'll give you some time to think about who I'm going to be talking about. So if you're new to my channel, the way I view the world is by making connections. So let me connect you to my vision, the Parvision. All right, I'm going to give you a little extra time. This one is genuinely hard, and also the title is not clickbait. All right, so the person who made it to Laugh-Tale before Roger was actually Vanderdecken. Not this guy, the original Vanderdecken. I'll tell you why in a second, but first, let's go over his backstory. So in chapter 606, Brook explains to us what he knows about the famous Flying Dutchman, Vanderdecken's cursed vessel. Brook says that ship doesn't belong in this world. It's hundreds of years old. One stormy night, a pirate captain suddenly went mad and threw his crew overboard. He drowned them all and cursed at the gods. His name was Captain Vanderdecken, and his ship was the Flying Dutchman. To punish him, the gods decreed that he should roam the seas for all eternity.
I mean, when we look at the Flying Dutchman, that is like some big time pirate lore, right? Like you watch Pirates of the Caribbean, if you watch SpongeBob, right? Which it has to do with being in the ocean and everything. A lot of pirate references in SpongeBob. There's the Flying Dutchman in that, and then we got Pirates of the Caribbean. I forget which movie it was where there was the Flying Dutchman, but that's usually, I think that was associated with what's his name, Davies Locker or something. I can't remember his name. Who was the character from the who was the character from Pirates of the Caribbean who operated the Flying Dutchman? You know, somebody let me know in the chat. But yeah, so it would make sense that Vander Decken, you know, if he, like him being the captain of the Flying Dutchman, possibly having a bigger part to play, especially Brooke giving us that information. So let's see where Parvision goes with it, though. Parvision said, "I'll be here, but I'm recording at the moment." Hey, I get it, bro. If you gotta record, go record, man. Go record. Angel said, "Welcome back." Cube said, "Let's go double dose of Bluff Nation." I might start giving y'all double doses since I don't do as much One Piece reactions. Like I might do them like once a week. I might start doing like double dose. I might start doing like 2 videos. You know what I mean? Plus, it kind of helps like when I edit these videos and put them on YouTube, bro. That's 2 videos I could be dropping on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? But hey, I'm with it. I'm with it. I might like this whole new thing right here. And Q said Davy Jones. Yes, Davy Jones. So I'm guessing Vander Decken is probably going to be like the equal of Davy Jones, I'm assuming. Let's continue.
And so, in a previous post, I drew a comparison to this last dialogue bubble and Zunisha. Seemingly, both were punished in order to roam the seas for all eternity. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I'll be dissecting more of these panels in future videos because I think that this song that was sung by Vander Decken about the original Vander Decken is probably really important. And we know now that in One Piece, music like the Drums of Liberation or Bing Sake are both really important things for the One Piece story. So walking back to what I wanted to talk about, on the surface, that backstory that Brooke provided us about Vander Decken can tell us at least that Vander Decken predates Brooke significantly, and we can confirm this even more by the fact that Vander Decken the Ninth exists in our timeline, which means 8 generations back can put the original Vander Decken, depending on lifespans, either in the Void Century or at a minimum about 400 years ago, a contemporary with Nolan possibly. But I'll be coming back to this part later, because we actually learn more about Vander Decken through Vander Decken the Ninth in chapter 625. So here are some interesting lines. Vander Decken says the truth of the legend is a secret that belongs to my family alone, I think. The way he makes it sound, it's like Vander Decken was a royal, to be honest. This is not too different than the wording that we see with the Nefertari, Kozuki, and in the royal Fishman family. But that point aside, Vander Decken somehow knew about Poseidon's existence, and even the description of Poseidon. And that made me wonder, how did the original Vander Decken know this? Because according to Neptune and Otahime, this knowledge was a royal legend. But here's the more interesting part. The current Vander Decken tells us more details just before this. He says long ago, a mermaid princess had the uncanny ability to control Neptunians. That legend was what lured the first Vander Decken down to the seafloor. Did you catch that? Lured. Okay, this part is huge for so many reasons. One, this implies that the original Vander Decken was not from Fishman Island and might be someone from the Blue Sea. And even more so, he might not even be a fishman. And right...
True. That'd be interesting. Like, that is interesting choice of words. Like, that legend was what lured the first Vander Decken to the seafloor. It didn't say to like a certain place in the sea. It says like he wasn't on the seafloor or he wasn't even in the sea, but it lured him there, right? So, okay, and we, and again, I believe that, you know, like what we know is Poseidon does have a lot of end game relevance, right? So whatever these ancient weapons, their purpose is, I think it's something to do with the end game. So if the original Vander Decken was looking for something that may have some connection with end game stuff like One Piece, Laugh Tale, or maybe destroying the Red Line or whatever, it could be something to it. There could be something to it. I'm gonna let Parvision continue Because right now, this whole theory that he's going on, I can't really add much at the moment of what I think. Because to me, I never look at Vanderdecken as being relevant, right? I never really considered it. I never thought about it. So I'm gonna let him continue.
There, you're probably like, whoa, wait, slow your roll here. But yeah, it's very possible that the original Vanderdecken could have been a human or any race and simply married a fishman, and thereafter the generations went on where their first child could be a hybrid, but then the rest could be more concentrated with fishman lineage until we get to the current Vanderdecken. But at the minimum, according to both Brooke and our current Vanderdecken, we get the idea that the Vanderdecken was originally not from Fishman Island, as he was lured to the sea floor, which you wouldn't exactly say if you were native to this place. Now for the next part of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if he weren't from Fishman Island, but he had heard of the legend of Poseidon, and he is not a royal from the Fishman Island, there's only one option for him to know this. We know the answer as we have seen multiple adventurers travel across the world, and they all heard about the legends of Poseidon from only one place, and that place is the ancient city of Shandora, or Jaya, when Nolan found it, but was knocked up to Skypea thereafter. After Roger acquired Odin, this was the first place they went to and learned about Poseidon. And what did they do? They went straight to Fishman Island after. Similarly, Robin told us that the poneglyph says the name of the ancient weapon Poseidon and its location, and both Roger and Robin confirmed that the poneglyph on Skypea also stated the power that Poseidon held. So what does all of this mean? This means that the original Vanderdecken was here in Shandora on Jaya. We don't know exactly when, but I would assume it's around the time Nolan was there. But that's not the crazy part. That means that the original Vanderdecken somehow read the poneglyph. Now there's a lot of options here, so let's do some process of elimination. He could have been from O'Hara, but probably not, because it wouldn't make sense for Clover to exist relative to our timeline and for them to know the language already all the way back then. So he probably didn't learn it, and he's probably not from O'Hara. That's an easy one to knock out. Then the next big option on our face would be, is there a world where he was a Kozuki? This one would be the craziest stretch ever, and Vanderdecken would be the most fodder Kozuki ever.
I was thinking Koski. But I was like, because his name probably would be Vanderdecken Koski or something, right? Like, that's what I would think. So I don't think he would be a Koski either.
But given that I said the original Vanderdecken could be human, this is a possibility. But I'd say that this last possibility is probably the most likely at the moment. That is kind of just the default best answer. And it's that the original Vanderdecken probably just had the voice of all things and could hear the poneglyphs just like Roger. Now,
I'm getting some real heavy Rocks these Zebek / Blackbeard type vibes from this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe he could have been like Zebek before Zebek, right? Like, kind of how we was talking about how Nolan was the predecessor of Roger and Luffy. Maybe, and I guess this is what Parvision was kind of saying earlier. Maybe Vanderdecken could have been like a predecessor to, maybe he could have been a predecessor to, like Zebek. You know, he could have been a predecessor to Zebek. He could have been Nolan's rival. You know, I mean, I don't know when if they existed at the same time, but maybe he could have been the predecessor or like a rival to Nolan at one point, or whoever was, you know, the guy at the moment. You know, like whoever was, like, let's say Nolan's predecessor or successor or whatever. You know, whenever we get the timeline straight and everything. But let's continue.
Now, why is that important? Well, when we look at Roger's understanding of the poneglyphs prior to Odin, this is what he says. These are the poneglyphs that the world government has long forbidden anyone to read. You thought they were just cultural relics? Think again. They're the map that we need. The stories say that a vast treasure awaits on the final island, and the government says don't go there. That only makes the stories about the treasure more believable. If we can get there, we'll be the greatest pirate crew in the world, in both name and fact. That's right, and that's where it cuts off. So Roger prefaced his dream and mission of the poneglyphs, saying that from the stories that he had gathered so far, there's a vast treasure. From our understanding, Roger made it to the last island, named it Laugh-Tale, but did not take any of the treasure and left it there, where at his execution, Roger claimed he had left his treasure in one piece, which is the entire point of the story. So now let's walk it back to our introduction to Vanderdecken's legend in chapter 606. This was the song that we heard. Dead men tell no tales. Dead men have no desires. In this blackened nation where not even a crow flies. Dead men's fingers have no need for jewels. The darkness hides even their regrets. Find it, find it. The sunken treasure is mine for the taking. I'm the richest man in the world. Captain Vanderdecken. So I get really excited every time I read that last part. Did you hear what I heard? In a later video, I will decipher the first part of the song, but Vanderdecken sang a song about himself, where he claims he was trying to find a sunken treasure, and thereafter claimed he was the richest man in the world. And I don't think that this song is referring to our Vanderdecken, as it doesn't have the title of the Vanderdecken the Ninth, but also Vanderdecken, though did take treasure, wasn't ever really proclaiming himself as the richest man in the world.
That do kind of... The richest man in the world would probably have the One Piece, right? Possibly, you know. And what makes a man rich, right? Knowledge, you know, like he could be rich with knowledge, he could be rich with wealth, he could be rich with all those things, right? And I kind of believe that's part of what the One Piece is. It's not just actual like treasure at like gold and stuff. Even though I think that's going to be there, I think there's actually going to be like currency type wealth, but I think there's also going to be a wealth of knowledge at Laugh-Tale. I think there may be the secrets of the world. So if Vanderdecken say I'm the richest man in the world, I mean, is he solely talking about like gold and jewelry and all that stuff? Or can he also be talking about wealth? Can he also be talking, or I mean not wealth, can he also be talking about knowledge? You know, and if that is the case, could he have found the One Piece? Hey, good point, Parvision. I'm seeing where you're going. I'm seeing where you're going. Angel said, the sunken treasure under in this lobby. I've said in this lobby plenty of times, man. I've definitely said in this lobby plenty of times. Hey, that O'Hara theory about the One Piece being under in this lobby, I agree. I believe that. I low key, that's probably, when it comes to theories of where Laugh-Tale and where the One Piece is, that's probably the theory that I believe in the most, honestly. That it could be under in this lobby, you know, because like I said, the barrier, like part of the reason why nobody has found Laugh-Tale is the barrier of entry. It's getting to Laugh-Tale. If it was just some random island, I believe that somebody would have stumbled upon it. Right? But why have nobody ever stumbled upon it? You know, maybe because it's either under the water or it's in the sky somewhere on a sky island. You know, and I think somebody even said it could potentially be in space. I don't know if I believe that, like maybe on one of the other moons around the One Piece Earth, but I do believe that it could potentially be like in the sky or in the underwater or something. But let's get back to it.
In the story later on, we find that he's mostly preoccupied with marrying Shirahoshi, not with riches necessarily. And I think that the treasure he is talking about is one and the same as the one Roger heard about. I think in junction to the fact that the only place the original Vanderdecken could have possibly heard about Poseidon was the Shandoran poneglyph, the rest of the song sounds like Vanderdecken didn't just look at one poneglyph. It might be the original Vanderdecken did not come across all of the poneglyphs, but he managed to acquire the road poneglyphs, or at least some of them, and he learned about what Laugh-Tale was and where it was. This part is more extrapolated, but I think Big Mom's road poneglyph might be the one that talks about a treasure, as Roger said he stole Big Mom's poneglyph, and while holding what seems to be a copy of her poneglyph, says that there was great treasure on Laugh-Tale, but by this point he had only seen one road poneglyph, and if only the road poneglyphs contain information about Laugh-Tale, then this is what currently makes the most sense. which would mean that we can strongly say that Vanderdecken visited the Shandoran poneglyph and more gently suggest that he most likely saw the road poneglyph that Big Mom currently has. But alright, I think the most important thing in all of this is trying to figure out what Vanderdecken went through with the gods that Brooke talked about. I have a shaky idea. Brooke says Vanderdecken suddenly went mad and threw his crew overboard and drowned them all and cursed at the gods. With this, I don't think we have heard of anything similar to this in the story, but since we are talking about Shandora and voice of all things, this did kind of remind me of what happened to Pantori, who proclaimed to hear the voice of the gods. Once he got tree fever, he said to sacrifice people to appease the gods. Maybe this is what Vanderdecken was going through, which would imply that Vanderdecken was originally Shandoran and had a similar relation to the gods. But we know Vanderdecken lived long enough to start an entire lineage down in Fishman Island, so I'm not sure if it were possible for him to contract the tree fever in the first place. But so in the last part, it says the gods decreed that he should roam the seas for all eternity, which sounds crazy because that means the gods were an entity that could enforce an actionable consequence of some sort. So that's when I was thinking, what if the gods he were referring to here were the celestial dragons instead? And the thing that made him go mad was the true history of the Void Century. Maybe somehow he made it to Laughtale with incomplete information and came to a conclusion that drove him insane. Like when Rayleigh responded to Robin about the Void Century truth, he said everyone will come to their own conclusion. Roger arrived there and his entire crew laughed so hard they cried, but maybe Vanderdecken arrived and was completely blindsided by what he found there. The truth that he found there drove him insane and made him turn on his crew, and then forced him to confront the celestial dragons, and when he did, he was punished somehow, which then makes you kind of think that somehow Vanderdecken could have been a celestial dragon, as they would have probably killed someone dabbling in the poneglyphs, but instead they chose to forcibly exile him, it seems. And that goes back to the comment before about the way Vanderdecken spoke about his family.
You know it's funny. You know it's kind of funny. He said maybe Vanderdecken was a celestial dragon, right? And then we get this clip of the Vanderdecken that we seen, right? Like Vanderdecken the 8th or 9th or whatever he is. And we see him right next to the celestial dragons. And what do he got on? He has a bubble. You know, you look at like the celestial dragons, they have bubbles on their heads. And then Vanderdecken, he has a bubble, even though his bubble is more for, you know, keeping him detached from the water, you know, because he's a devil fruit user. Even though, like, I don't believe he would die if he was in the water. He just would be like immobile, you know, because his devil fruit. But just like Jack was able to survive being under the water until somebody came and rescued him because he was a fisherman, I would think that would be the same for Vanderdecken as well. But kind of seeing Vanderdecken in the bubble, as Parvision says, the original Vanderdecken could have been a celestial dragon. It's just funny, and it's just funny, and it's kind of like, dang man, could that be a parallel? Like, could Vanderdecken being in the bubble be kind of like a foreshadow of his ancestor Vanderdecken being a formal celestial dragon who wear bubble helmets? Let's get back to the video.
It felt like royalty almost. And we know that after this incident is when Vanderdecken went to the seafloor to seek Poseidon. It might have been to retaliate against the gods, or as a failsafe against the gods. Vanderdecken was probably not originally concerned with the ancient weapons, but when he found out about the Void Century is when he realized he needed the ancient weapons. So I want to clarify, the most stable part of this theory is that the original Vanderdecken probably had the voice of all things and visited the poneglyph in the City of Gold. I'll still be trying to piece together the possibilities that could come out of this tale that Brooke told us, but one thing that I did figure out, and this part has to be true, while I was making this whole script, I felt like I was missing something really obvious, and it stems from Vanderdecken's lineage or origin. It makes the most sense that the original Vanderdecken wasn't a fisherman, and then it hit me like a freight truck. Really quickly, if you look at our Vanderdecken, isn't there something blatantly wrong about his appearance? And let me remind you, he is a Japanese bullhead shark fisherman, sometimes called...
He kind of reminds me of, just a little bit, the hair reminds me of Zebek a bit. You know what I'm saying? Like the craziness of Zebek's hair, a bit. The hair kind of reminds me a bit of Zebek, but I'm gonna let you continue.
The cat shark, but is there anything weird yet? his arms, his shoulders. Is he two people in one? Yeah, he's a little wonky for all of that, but that's not what I'm talking about. As a shark fishman, why does he have 4 legs? Even when we look at octopus and squid fishermen, they get multiple arms, not legs. Hyozo, who has multiple legs, but these are actually tentacles, but that's because he's a merman, whereas Vanderdecken is a fishman. So these 4 legs actually tell us what his lineage is, because I've been mentioning this to everyone in the past week on stream and in phone calls in relation to my future Zoro is a plant theory. Yes, you heard that correctly, just ignore that madness for right now, but
Zoro being a plant, that'd be funny because it would really play into Sanji calling him Moss Head. It would really play into that whole joke. We got a fried one. He said, yo, how's it going? What's this theory all about? Right now we are talking about Vanderdecken, the original Vanderdecken, possibly being the first, or possibly finding Laugh-Tale and finding the One Piece before Roger found it, you know, and Roger not being the first person to Laugh-Tale. That's pretty much what this theory is. If you want to go back and watch the video again, because I know you kind of can't, we're kind of at the end of the video right now, but if you want to go back to the Parvision's video and watch it just to see what he said, since you missed it, the link, he did post the link to this video in the chat, so you just gotta go up. It's probably the only link that you'll find. So yeah, but that's what this theory is about. Fraud one, and welcome to the channel as well. Welcome to the channel. Angel said Vanderdecken deja vu feels like we watched this part of the video, or it feels like you watched this part of it. And maybe you did. Maybe you seen this one. Fraud one said, I'll take the TLDR. And then Cube said, it was a nice vid. Yeah, man. Well, anyway, let's get back into the video.
Plant people races are a real thing in One Piece. The only 4-legged race we know of was a race that was hidden in Mont d'Or's book, in Big Mom's collection of races, and that was the Kinoko Bito, which is a race of mushroom people. So because of Vanderdecken's current appearance, I think it is actually a safe assumption to make that the original Vanderdecken was this race, a mushroom person that crossbreeded with the fishman race. On top of that, he might have actually been the first.
I would say, could it be possible though? Could it be possible that maybe down the line of the Vanderdeckens, maybe one of them crossbreeded with a Kinoko Bito? You know what I'm saying? That could be possible. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. That could be, or like you said, maybe the original one was a Kinoko Bito as well. Let's continue.
First person since the Void Century to dabble in poneglyphs and actually get to Laugh-Tale, if not extremely close to it. Which means Roger was almost beat out by a mushroom man. That wasn't clickbait, guys. So this was a fun theory to think about. I actually started thinking about this idea through a conversation with That One Piece Talk. Larry from That One Piece Talk is working on an incredible analytical theory that sparked this line of thinking and made me realize that Vanderdecken was reading poneglyphs. If you like this theory, please like, share, and subscribe. Whether the ending is right, I'm pretty sure Vanderdecken was a mushroom man who read poneglyphs. This is more of a filler theory amongst my more major theories, but sometimes I just get super excited about an idea and I have to share it. So hopefully you all thought this was interesting. There's so many ways this could become relevant later on, but it's also one of those things that might get lost in the story. But I also think that One Piece might end up wrapping a lot of these legendary plotlines that were created, especially since this plotline with the original Vanderdecken tied to the gods and Poseidon, both plot elements that will be heavily addressed in the final saga. Also, I want to announce that I will be streaming every Thursday during this break month at around 5 p.m. Eastern Time to continue the tradition of.
I really enjoyed this theory though. I really did enjoy this theory. I never considered Vanderdecken to have any relevance to the story, but it's definitely interesting, right? It's interesting the possibilities of the original Vanderdecken possibly finding the One Piece before, or being the Laugh-Tale like long ago, you know. And he does, like, I actually like that was actually one of those stories I actually really overlooked. Like Vanderdecken. I didn't really care for the Vanderdecken from Fishman Island and his story. I didn't really care for it. But you kind of gave me a different look at it. So now I feel like I gotta go back and actually read that whole story of his ancestor. Like go read those chapters again just to kind of, you know, get like that firsthand, just to appreciate it, I guess. To appreciate it. But yeah, you did definitely make me see it in a whole new light. Like I would have I would have never considered Vanderdecken. And not only that, it's like who like no nobody talks about this. Like nobody I haven't heard any theories. It's a completely new theory that I've heard. You know what I mean? For me, it's not a theory I heard anybody talk about. I never heard anybody have any Vanderdecken type of theories. And you are the only person that I've seen have a Vanderdecken theory and make it interesting as well. Like make it actually sound feasible. You know what I mean? Like you brought some good points and some interesting points. So now you got my attention. Man, you got my attention. And make sure you hit that like button. Also subscribe. Hit that bell for notification. And also the link to this video will be in the description box. So y'all make sure y'all, go show Parvision that love. And follow me on Twitch. Also my Discord. Join the Discord. The community is growing, so join the Discord. Anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God. Y'all have a good evening. Hope to see you guys tomorrow or whatever. I'm out of here. Peace.